So in this lecture, I would like to discuss about the production of X-rays. All of us know about the X-rays. X-rays are the electromagnetic radiations. X-rays are the energetic radiations. So X-rays are produced when electrons which have been accelerated. X-rays are produced when electrons which have been accelerated by an electric field strike the atoms, usually in a solid target. X-rays are produced when electrons which have been accelerated by an electric field. So electric field has to be applied during the production of the X-rays. Okay, and that electrons have been accelerated by an electric field and they are going to be strike onto the atoms, usually in a solid target. And due to this electron bombardment of the target, suppose that this is a target here and electrons accelerated in presence of the electric field and they are bombarded onto the target. This is target. Okay, so from this target X-rays are produced. Due to the electron bombardment of the target, electrons in the inner cells are displaced, and when the electrons make transition from a higher energy level to the vacancy in the inner level, the energy is given out in the form of an X-ray photon. Okay, very simple process. When the electrons are accelerated in presence of the electric and magnetic field, electric field particularly, what happens? Electrons in the inner cells are displaced. Electrons in the inner cell of that atom get displaced, and when the electrons make transition from a higher energy level to the vacancy in the inner level, okay, when the electrons make transition from a higher energy level, suppose let us consider the example here. Suppose this is 2s orbital and this is 2p orbital. Now there are two electrons here and there are two electrons here in the 2p orbitals, and this is inner cell. Okay, this is called as inner cell. Inner shell. Now the electrons in the inner cell are displaced. These electrons get displaced, and when the electrons make transition from higher energy level, then there is a transition of electrons from higher energy level to the vacancy in the inner level. The energy is given out. During this process energy is given out, that is in the form of the X-ray photon. Okay, now how X-rays are produced, let us see the figure here. See, this is the X-ray bulb. This is called as a X-ray bulb. So with the help of this X-ray bulb, the electrons get accelerated on the target. You can see in this diagram it is shown here. An electric field is applied here. Electric field is applied here. This is a evacuated glass bulb. This is called as a evacuated. There should not be any air inside. Evacuated glass bulb or X-ray bulb. Okay. What happens here? See, this target it is taken. This is cathode connected to the negative terminal, target connected to the positive terminal, and electricity is supplied. Electric field is applied. So what happens from this cathode? The electrons are releases. These are the electrons, and that electrons are coming out from the cathode. Let us see the process here. Okay, in the figure, X-ray bulb is shown, which is used for the production of the X-rays. This X-ray bulb is an evacuated cathode ray discharge tube. What is this? This is an cathode ray evacuated tube. Cathode ray evacuated tube, discharge tube, in which the cathode C is made up of aluminum. This cathode C, it is made up of aluminum here. Okay, it is made up of aluminum here. Okay, and is concave in shape. Particular angle is there, concave, like this, is concave in shape. Okay, so let us see what happens next. The target tube T, that is also called as an anti-cathode, is connected to the anode. This target tube T, it is connected to the anode here. Why it is called as a target? Because these electrons are ejected from this cathode and going to strike onto this target. Okay, electrons are ejected from the cathode C, that is made up of aluminum, and strike onto the target. In presence of the electric field, they are accelerated, and that's why the kinetic energy of that electrons becomes increases, and they are going to be strike onto the target. Okay, so you can see here there is a specific angle is also there. The target T, it is also called as an anti-cathode, means anode, is connected to the anode, and the front surface of the target facing the cathode is sloped to have an inclination of 45 degree. Okay, there is an angle here, 45-degree angle, inclination, because these rays are these electrons are accelerated here, and from this target the X-rays are ejected. X-rays are emerges from this target. Okay, so this is a very important process. You have to be understand about this. The target is connected to the anode, and the front surface of the target facing the cathode is sloped to have an inclination of 45 degree to the axis of the cathode ray stream. Okay, the target is usually made up of a metal having high melting point, like platinum. Target, it is made up of high melting point like platinum, molybdenum, or tungsten. Particularly tungsten can be used here because platinum is very costly. Okay, so X-rays are then emitted from the anti-cathode T. Okay, once again I would like to tell the process here. This is evacuated X-ray discharge tube. Evacuated means it does not contain any air. This is the cathode C. It is having the concave in shape. Okay, it is made up of aluminum. Okay, it is made up of aluminum. Aluminum supposed to be giving the electrons very easily, and that's why that material it is taken here. It is cathode C. So electrons are ejected from this very easily, and that electrons are accelerated towards this anti-cathode. This anti-cathode, it is made up of tungsten. Some internal rearrangement will be takes place here in this anti-cathode. What internal rearrangement takes place here? Internal rearrangement of the electrons. Okay, when these electrons accelerated towards this anti-cathode, this is anti-cathode. Okay, you can see here anti-cathode. Okay, and what happens? Internal rearrangement of the electron is takes place here, and that's why the X-rays are emitted from this. Okay, X-ray photon are emitted from this. In this way there is a production of the X-ray. The anti-cathode, it is connected to the positive terminal. Suppose it is anode here. Okay, it is anode here, and generally we know that from the anode electrons are given out, and from the cathode electrons are emerges. Okay, so in this way the X-rays are produced here. So X-rays are detected by some properties such as, actually these X-rays was discovered by the scientist Rontgen. Okay, by the scientist Rontgen. Okay, he has discovered the X-rays here. X-rays are very important one, all of us know. Okay, X-ray can be taken nowadays. It can be instrument. It can be used in the advanced instrument. We can take the X-ray, so they are very useful. Okay, so X-rays are detected by some properties. So what are the properties of the X-rays? Okay, they are affecting onto the photographic plate. Suppose that the source emitting the X-rays. Okay, and here photographic plate is kept. This is photographic plate. And what happens when X-rays are strike onto the photographic plate? The photographic plate get blackened. Okay, it will affect onto the photographic plate, producing fluorescence in certain substances. They can produce as fluorescence. It is a emission of the light radiation, fluorescence. X-rays ionizes the gaseous molecule. Suppose that when the X-rays are passes into the gaseous medium, they can even ionizes the inert gases. Okay, they can ionizes the inert gases, particularly argon. Argon gas will be ionized by the X-ray, and they are producing the positively charged argon and electron. We know that generally inert gases are not emitting the electrons, not given the electrons, but X-rays can withdraw the electron from their valence shell. So that's why they can ionize the gaseous molecule. And X-rays penetrating through the matter. We know that in our body X-rays can be penetrated. Okay, and X-ray can be taken. Our when we take the X-ray of our some part of the body, then these X-ray radiations are used here. Okay, so in this way X-rays are very important. They are affecting onto the photographic plate, means they are very active, they are dangerous. X-ray cannot be taken again and again. There should be some time gap. After 1 month we can take the another X-ray. Okay, when one X-ray can be taken before 1 month, then after 1 month we can take the another X-ray, 1 month, 2 month. Particularly those persons who are having some accidental part, then some fracture is there, that can be detected by the X-ray. X-ray can be taken. So at that time these X-rays are used. X-ray photon, remember this. These are energetic. Okay, so they are affecting onto the photographic plate. They are producing fluorescence in certain substances. They can ionize the gaseous molecule. They are penetrating through the matter. They can be penetrated into the matter. Okay, now the wavelength of the X-rays. What is the wavelength? As it is the electromagnetic radiation, X-rays are the electromagnetic radiation, and it is having the wavelength lambda. So it is around 1 angstrom. Okay, or it is 10 raised to minus 8 centimeter. The wavelength of the X-ray is. Okay, so try to understand about this. Now these X-rays can be used for in three-dimensional diffraction grating process. Later on we can see that. Okay, so in this way X-rays are produced here with the help of this X-ray discharge tube. So this is the production of the X-ray. Now let us going to be discussed on the basis of the X-ray. The next topic, it is Bragg's reflection method of X-ray analysis. Bragg's reflection method of X-ray analysis. How to carry out the X-ray analysis. So Bragg's, it is the name of the scientist. Reflection, X-rays are reflected. Therefore, this Bragg's reflection method of X-ray analysis is given. It means when X-rays are strike on certain material, on solid, they are going to be reflected from the surface. So how that process is takes place, let us see here. W.H. Bragg and his son W.L. Bragg studying the optical properties of X-rays. Studying the optical properties of X-rays. So they learned about the experiments of the scientists Friedrich and Knipping. They then derived an equation which is immense use in the determination of the interplanar distances in the crystals. Previously, we has been discussed what is the interplanar distance. Okay, that interplanar distance can be determined with the help of the X-ray. So it is a magic now. X-ray can be used to determine the interplanar distance. Okay, distance between the planes 100, 110, 1111. Such type of the planes are present in the crystal system. Okay, and that is very, very useful for later study. So X-rays are very, very useful for the determination of interplanar distances in the crystal. So let us see what that experiment. So let us going to derive here the Bragg's equation. Okay, this is also the application of the X-ray. Okay, so principle of this Bragg's equation. Since a crystal possesses space lattice arrangement of atoms, crystal possess space lattice arrangement of atoms, that is known to us. Crystal is having the space lattice, it is having a number of lattice point, it is having suppose unit cell, smallest portion of the crystal, it is called as a unit cell. So crystal possess space lattice arrangement of atoms. It is obvious that there exists in a crystal equally spaced parallel planes. In a crystal, there are number of parallel planes are existing, containing the lattice points or atoms. We know that in a crystal, there are number of atoms are there. There are number of unit cells are there. There are number of planes are there. Okay, because in a crystal system, huge number of the atoms are there. Okay, so number of parallel planes are there, number of lattice points are there. W.L. Bragg suggested that the scattering of X-rays by a crystal could be represented as a reflection from the planes of the atoms parallel to a given face on which the X-rays are incident. When the X-rays are strike onto the crystal system, I would like to show the diagram here. See this. Okay, this is a crystal system, and that crystal is having such type of the planes, parallel plane. You can see here parallel plane, and these are the X-rays. They are going to be strike onto the crystal system. Crystal system having the plane, parallel planes. Number of lattice points are there. Okay, so let us see how the Bragg's equation can be derived here. Okay, so every atom of the atom bearing plane is able to scatter X-rays to an extent dependent on the number of electrons it possesses. What processes takes place there? When the X-rays are incident onto the crystal surface, the scattering process will be takes place. X-rays get scattered. Okay, thus when a beam of monochromatic X-rays, monochromatic means they are having the same wavelength, strikes the atom, okay, which constitute these planes. On that crystal, there are number of planes are existing, which constitute these planes, will then be diffracted in such a manner. There will be the diffraction process will be takes place. X-rays get diffracted there in such a way that there should be occurs interference. In physics, you learn the interference. Okay, so when the X-rays strikes the atom, which constitute these planes, will then be diffracted in such a manner so as to cause interference with or reinforcement of the diffracted beam from the first or outermost plane, and the whole beam will then be behaves at if it had been reflected from the surface of the crystal. Let us see this diagram. Okay. So this LMN, it is the beam of the X-rays getting strike onto the surface. Okay, this beam L, beam M, and beam N. This is the first plane, plane AA, plane BB. Suppose here plane CC. So this is first going to strike onto the first plane, going to strike onto the first plane here. This is X-ray. Let us see. 1 minute. I would like to show this X-ray. Okay. So this is the beam of the X-ray, monochromatic beam of the X-ray. Monochromatic beam of the X-rays. Monochromatic beam of the X-ray. Strike on the surface of the crystal. And it consists of number of parallel planes like this. This is AA plane, BB plane that we have already explained, 100 plane, 110 plane, 111 plane. In the crystal system, such type of the planes are available there. Suppose that this is CC, like that. What happens here? The X-rays are reflected from this surface. Okay, you can see here. Okay, LS, it is the beam of the X-ray, and SP, it is the beam of the X-ray reflected here. So let us see. Consider a beam of monochromatic X-rays which strike on a set of parallel and equidistant planes. Beam of monochromatic X-rays strike onto the surface of the crystal which have the parallel planes AA, BB, and CC. Okay, strikes on a set of parallel and equidistant planes represented by AA, BB, CC. That is shown by that is shown in the figure. These planes are assumed to be consisting of regular arrangement of points. Okay, indicating the positions of the atoms. We know that in that plane the atoms are there at the corners in the crystal. Let D be the distance between the successive planes. See here, this D be the distance between the two successive planes. That is already explained by us previously. Distance between the two planes, nearest planes, 100 plane, 110 plane. Okay, so this is the distance between the two parallel planes here. Such parallel planes are present into the crystal system. So let D be the distance between the two successive planes. Okay, D be the distance between the two successive planes, and these planes are having definite Miller indices. What is that Miller indices? 100, 110, 1111. Okay, it has been already explained by us. And D would be then D100 or D110 or D111. What is D100? It is the distance between the two parallel 110 plane, parallel 110 plane, parallel 111 plane. So in figure, LMN represent the wavefront of the X-rays. You can see here, LMN represent the wavefront of X-rays, beam of X-rays, wavefront of the X-rays. Okay, LS and MT represent a series of parallel monochromatic X-rays of wavelength lambda. LS and MT, you can see here, LS and MT, they are both are also parallel. LS and MT are the wavefront. Okay, LS and MT represent a series of parallel monochromatic X-rays of wavelength which is having the wavelength lambda, which strike the crystal face at an angle theta. You can see here, which strike the crystal face at an angle theta. This is the angle theta here. Okay, this is the angle theta here. Okay, which strikes the crystal surface at an angle theta. That angle it is also called as a glancing angle. So LSP represents a path of X-rays. LSP represent a path of X-rays. LSP. Similarly here, MTQ. It is the path of the X-rays. Okay, LSP represents the path of the X-rays reflected from the first or outermost layer. LSP, it is the path of the X-rays reflected from the first or this outermost layer. MTQ, it is the path of the X-rays reflected from the second layer. MTQ represents a path of the X-rays reflected from the second layer. If the length of the path MTQ is greater than the length of the path LSP, obviously the length of the path this LSP, it is less than the length of the path MTQ. You can see here, it will be strike onto the second layer here on the BB, that is a parallel layer here. So MTQ, it is the path of the second beam of the X-ray. Okay, represent the path of the X-rays reflected from the second layer. And if the length of the MTQ is greater than the length of the path LSP by a whole number of wavelength, then the two beams from L and M will reinforce, get together one another after the reflection, and a strong beam will result. Okay, L and M both combine and the strong beam will be reflected from the surface. Okay, so a strong beam will be result from that. The condition for reinforcement to occur can be derived as follows. What happens here? Reinforcement process will be takes place. The beam L and beam M get combined and it will reinforces. So how that will be? Let SU and SV be drawn perpendicular. Let us see the diagram here. Let SU, where SU you can see, SU and SV drawn perpendicular. It is a perpendicular from this S to U and from S to V. Okay, let SU and SV be drawn perpendicular here. Okay, to MT and TQ respectively. To MT, this MT and TQ respectively. Try to understand this diagram. MT and TQ respectively. So let us see what happens there. The difference in the length of the paths MTQ and LSP, the difference in the path MTQ and LSP, this difference in the path MTQ and LSP, this we want to find out here the difference in the path. Always we know that this path MTQ is greater than the path LSP, but what is that difference? We want to find out that. SU and SV are perpendicular drawn from this. Okay, and the difference between the path MTQ and LSP, we are going to be find out that. Okay, so the difference in the length of the paths MTQ and LSP is equal to how much it is, that difference in the path. You can see here the difference in the path MTQ and LSB becomes equal to this MTQ. This is the path of the second X-ray, and LSP. Okay. The beam of the X-rays are reflected. First of all, they are going to be strike here onto the crystal surface. The crystal surface is having such type of the parallel planes. First beam of the X-ray gets strike onto the plane AA. Second beam of the X-ray get strike onto the plane BB. Third beam of the X-ray gets strike onto the plane CC, like that. So what is the difference between the path MTQ and LSP? So to find out that, first of all, let us draw here the perpendicular SU and SV. So what is the difference here? That difference becomes equal to the difference in the path. It is equal to, you can see here, UT plus TB. Okay, this is the difference in the path. Up to this, LS is equal to MU. Similarly, SP, it is equal to VQ. What is the difference here between the two paths? This is and this. Okay, UT plus TB, it is the difference in the path between the MTQ and LSP. Okay, so let us see here what happens. But it can be proved that the angles UST and TSV are each equal to the glancing angle theta. Angle UST, this angle. UST means this angle. Both angles are same here. Angle UST or TSV, these angles are same. So we can say that UT it is equal to TV. UT it is equal to TV. So what is sine theta here? Let us find out the sine theta now. 1 minute. Let us find out the sine theta here. Okay. Sine theta it is equal to. So sine theta it is equal to. Okay. This sine theta, this is theta here. Sine theta it is equal to UT upon this ST. Okay. Sine theta it is equal to UT upon ST. According to this front side divided by this neighboring side, sine theta it is equal to UT upon ST. So what is UT here and what is ST here? ST it is D. Okay, ST it is here D. So we can write here sine theta it is equal to D upon UT. D upon UT here. Okay. Similarly, so we can write here, let us see, well, first UT equal to
UT
this.
upon DL, na sir?
1 minute, check this, 1 minute. UT upon D, correct. It is UT upon D. Okay, it is UT upon D. This is ST, it is D here, correct. It is UT upon D. So UT equal to D sine theta. Okay, it means that your attention is here toward the lecture. You are correct. So UT equal to D sine theta here. Okay, UT equal to D sine theta here. Similarly, what is this SV? This is also equal to D sine theta here. Sorry, TV. TV it is also equal to D sine theta here. Okay. So it means that this path difference UT plus TV it is equal to 2D sine theta. UT plus TV it is equal to 2D sine theta. And that is we want to find out the path difference here between MTQ and LSP. The total path difference is it is UT plus TV, thus it is 2D sine theta. For a reflection of maximum intensity, this quantity must be whole number n. For a reflection of maximum intensity, this quantity must be whole number n of wavelength lambda. Okay, hence the condition for maximum reflection. The condition for maximum reflection, where lambda is the wavelength of the X-ray radiation. Okay, and this quantity must be whole number n. So n lambda equal to 2D sine theta. That is the path difference here. For maximum reflection, we can write the condition here, n lambda it is equal to 2D sine theta. So this equation it is called as a Bragg's equation. Okay. For a reflection of maximum intensity, X-rays are reflected here, no doubt. And this quantity must be whole number n of wavelength lambda. Okay. Suppose n equal to 1, order of reflection it is equal to 1. Okay, n equal to 2, then it is 2 lambda. Order of reflection it is 2. Second type reflection it is there. This equation is known as Bragg's equation, in which n is an integer. The values of the n are 1, 2, 3, and is known as the order of reflection. This is also called as the order of reflection, and this equation it is called as a Bragg's equation. So according to this, we can find out here the Bragg's equation here. Okay, and this equation it is very, very useful. Okay, so try to understand here the Bragg's equation here. Okay, so